On this episode, we want you to ask the right questions when these too-good-to-be-true spring seed deals surface in the marketplace. Communication, trust, and transparency with your seed provider is key. Check out the new field signs that communicate the trait you are planting in your field this spring. Hear about the latest crop and weather reports and what it means for farmers. Merschman Seeds is ready to break out our Yield 360 soil scan machine. Learn how it measures nitrogen content in the soil, and stick around as we provide important tips on how to manage anhydrous application in a wet spring.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman from Merschman Seeds. Welcome to Cup of Joe, episode number 23. Today we have all our regulars back. We have Tommy Johns, Dirk Rigginator, and Ben Pieper. And, well, as you remember, if you watched last week, Tommy was gone. Tommy, what happened? Did you get that sale?
Absolutely, Joe. Do you have any question?
Oh, I knew that. The odds were pretty good.
No, I tell you, if these companies keep sending out low-quality seed, I think our phone's going to keep still ringing off the hook here all the way through planting season. So a lot of concerns with lower germs on some soybeans. A lot of issues with some shipping. Shipping is a big concern out in the countryside, not necessarily with our customers at all, but some of the, my job is to grow the business, so I see a lot of new people that we don't deal with on a normal basis, Joe, and shipping has definitely put a wrench in things for the spring.
Well, there's no question about it. When you get a winter like we had, it's going to put shipping behind. And so, if you don't adjust and, put some more trucks on, and of course that affects production. So there's a whole bunch of things going on right now that in the past few years we didn't have to deal with.
Yep. And it's really interesting with all these, at the end, always during spring planting time, you see a lot of special deals on soybeans and corn, and buy one get ones, and or backing up September pricing or whatever these kind of deals are. And it's I'm very, very happy that we get to deal with some of these farmers that can make decisions early and take advantage of a lot of our discounts. But at the end of the day, it is tough seeing some of these wild deals that are going on out in the field and not knowing exactly what you're getting. I know, for example, we ran into a case where a guy had a buy one get one free soybean opportunity, and come to find out they were 40% germ beans. So.
Always ask the questions.
Always ask the questions. That's right, Joe. So and then I just, it's very concerning at the same time. But the opportunity for LLGT 27 and then list acres through Merschman Seeds has never been greater. With our good supply, the ease of use for the two technologies, and the near zero volatility for the Enlist, that's what's really taken off.
So a lot of these shipping issues, Tommy, have to do with those companies even being able to find good beans to ship locally. They may be going long distances to even find the beans to have the germ that they need for their customers.
Yeah, there's quite a few companies, and I'm not going to name any names, but we had a conversation with a guy today, and they were actually having to go to Indiana to pick up their soybeans, and they farm in central Iowa. They had an incentive probably from the company to go pick it up, but they didn't have anything in their local production area that was meeting germ certification.
Yeah, and it's all because of the wet weather we had last fall.
Exactly right.
If those beans stayed out there for 2-3 weeks because of wet fall, that affects the amount of pod and stem blight that's on the seed and fusarium, and then all of a sudden the germination is a problem, and it's industry wide, and how each company manages it is kind of up to them. But I know we've been on top of this from day one.
Well, and that's another thing is our customers really appreciate the communication from the top to the bottom. I was going to say, there's a lot of companies out there that the communication down to the farmer is non-existent in some cases. Order their seed in the fall, and then come to find out they can't get their own soybeans because there's a germ issue, and that's the first they've heard of it. That's very upsetting for a farmer who's getting his tractor and his planter ready.
I understand what It seems like some of the bigger companies, there's a disconnect between the sales people and the production people, and we don't have that here. I mean, we have the ability for salespeople to tell us what the problems are, and production people will respond to it. And if we have a problem in production, we pass it on to the salespeople. The last thing I want to see as a customer be disappointed right at planting time when he had expectations of something much better, and we just don't want to have those confrontations at that time. So that's one of the things we'll pledge to our customers. If we have a problem, we'll tell you, and up front, and not 2 seconds before you need to dump the seed into the planter.
And that's, and I'm afraid that's what's going to happen, and there's only enough time in the day. We can't get to everybody and try to help them, but
sure.
we'll try our best.
Well,
we're one of the few companies, Joe, that when you say couple of sales together with production, it's also sales together with available what's sale, because when a customer orders from us, that seed is reserved for them, period, and we're not overselling all the time.
No.
And that's one thing that we can do different that other customers don't know until all the sales numbers come in and they say all of a sudden, oh my God, we don't have that much of this variety. Then they got to do a substitution, or they got to do something else, and that's where the buy one get one free or some kind of a price reduction is, because they got to switch varieties, and whoever bought that to start with was buying it because that was what they wanted, because that's what they felt, or that's what their salesman felt was the best for your farm and your conditions right now. Well, if you can't get that one, so which one is this one? Is it just as good? Is it not
It seems
good?
at the time of the sale, you pitch them on the best product for that acre, and then at planting time, it's why didn't I get that? Well, we didn't have it. Sorry, you get to deal with this. So
Well, we just don't like to have those conversations and do everything to avoid that. So
absolutely,
And we can have some germ issues too, but that's very, very rare for
it
us to ever
happens.
have.
It happens. We're working with a live product, and we do multiple tests and everything, so we do the best that we can. But speaking of, it really boils down to communication, doesn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
And trust, and that's what the seed business is. It's about communication, it's trust. And there's one thing that we're doing this year, and I got a little prop here to help out on here, and that's communication. If you're a Merschman Seed customer and you're concerned about off-target movement of dicamba, we've made these signs up. And they are available for free of charge to our Merschman Seeds customers to put up on their fields right now. In fact, I'll be putting them up right now to let everybody know in the neighborhood that you're planting a product that's sensitive to dicamba, and hopefully that will prevent some off-target movement. Your neighbors are conscientious people, and they say, "Oh, must be planting something that's not dicamba resistant." So therefore, we better watch the wind and make sure everything's exactly right. So if you are a Merschman Seed customer and you would like to have some of these signs, contact your local Merschman Seeds dealer, who will get a hold of the area sales manager, and we'll send them out to you. But I'd recommend get them up, because offense is better than defense. In other words, let people know what you're planting and that they're dicamba sensitive, and hopefully that'll avoid some problems in June and July, and then at that time it's too late.
Definitely a good topic to over communicate. That's all we're just trying to over communicate so we can protect our customers the best that we can from our stat.
It's something that we've had requests. I know there's the flag to field, which is very popular down south in the mid-south, but a lot of people don't know what the colors mean on those flags, and so this just makes it simple. Hey,
Joe, is there any other signs that you have over there that?
Sure. You may find this hard to believe, Tommy, but we got Enlist E3 signs and Liberty Link signs. What's the chances of that? Of course, Enlist E3 is the new triple stack that has glyphosate, glufosinate, and the new choline 2,4-D, the new formulation that's less volatile and actually has a different smell. And of course, the LibertyLink GT27, which is the triple stack of glyphosate, glufosinate, and also soon, as soon as the EPA approves it, Elite 27 herbicide, which was going to be called Balanced Bean. So we're still waiting on a label, but these will be available. And also, if you want to, put a Merschman Seed sign up on the field, everything's ready to go. It's a good way to communicate to your neighbors and your custom applicator, what's in that field, so mistakes don't happen. Because let's face it, mistakes are going to happen this year with the multiple traits that are out there, and anything you can do to help everybody understand. And signs work; they work well. They're still the best way. I mean, you can tell people, you can text them, you can email them, but when you pull in that field and you can see it, that's what's in the field. Then we can avoid mistakes. And there's nothing more hurts my heart more than is when a farmer calls up and said, "Oh man, my custom applicator applied the wrong herbicide on, and my field's dead." And here we had a perfect stand. We had everything on go. So signs are a great way to avoid that. So if you need signs, again, contact your local Merschman Seed dealer. We'll contact the area sales manager and we'll get them to you. But right now is a good time while you're waiting to get going, to get those signs ready and get them up when the time comes, to let people know in the neighborhood what you're doing. Turk, what do you got for us today?
I just wanted to touch on the USDA reports that came out last week, the March Planting Intentions Report, which was conducted on March 1st. So obviously a lot of changes have been made since then in farmers' attitudes and what they were thinking from March 1st to today. But you know, the report said that we're planting intentions was 92.8 million acres of soybeans and 84 or of corn, I'm sorry, and 84.6 million acres of soybeans, and so that's a little bit above what the trade is expecting on corn by about 1.5 million acres. But again, March 1st intentions, and then the soybeans is about 1.5 million below what the USDA was or what the trade was expecting, and so but I think now that we've got all of our conditions that's going on here in the Midwest with wet and flooding and everything else, that we're going to see those numbers kind of come together a little bit closer to what maybe the trade is thinking. And so we think that corn acres preventive planting is probably going to be 1 million acres this year. I mean, I really think that preventing planting is going to be a big deal, especially in all those flood acres. It's not going to happen. And we're looking at a lot of more wet weather coming. So,
well, what are you referring to about? What do you mean wet weather coming? What are you talking about?
Well, we got a weather alert this morning, Joe. Did you get a chance to look at that?
You know, now that you mentioned it, I did, Turk. If any of you, if you remember a couple episodes ago, we had John Felt do a spring weather projection. John Felt's our Merschman Seeds official weatherman. You know, you can email him, you can talk to him if you got specific questions. But he just put out a bulletin, and I encourage all of our customers and interested folks in agricultural weather to sign up for his free service, which will give you a daily update. And then of course, if there's something that's really earth-shaking, and he just sent one out today, and it's not good if you're a farmer, because they're projecting colder temperatures. They're going to have a warm-up over the weekend. And then we're looking at colder temperatures and above normal precipitation at least through the middle of April, up to about April 20th. So that's not conducive to getting field work done, getting anhydrous on. And I know we're going to talk about that in a second with Ben. But the big thing that we did when we sat down with him, if you remember, Turk, is we said, can you predict when that cold, wet rain's coming? Because that first drink of water that seed takes, if it's cold, wet, it is disaster, because you're not going to get uniform seed emergence. Yep. Now, obviously, we're putting 3 biostimulants on to help you through that stress, you know, to help that seedling have everything it needs, give it baby in it to get it out of those cold conditions like that. But the reality of it is, put that corn planter or that soybean planter in the shed, go do something else, because you're probably going to have to do it over again.
Very likely.
So encourage all of our watchers and listeners to sign up to John's weather forecast, his daily and his weekly update, and then also the bulletins. And we'll have those links available for you to sign up, because he is purposely looking at this particular issue, because that's something that we said the worst thing that can happen to a farmer is have that really cold, wet rain right after they plant.
Our customers can email him directly, and he'll answer their questions directly, specific for their location. No, you did that, Ben.
Yeah, we actually on our family farm, we farm ground that's in floodplain. And about 3 weeks ago, I emailed John and asked him, you know, what's your thought on this? Mom and Dad have to make some big decisions on what you're thinking. And he said, as long as we don't see anything outside of our bounds for precipitation up north, we're going to see a 20-foot river. Well, and it's going to hold at 20 foot. Well, lo and behold, a week ago, well, it wasn't even a week ago, it was probably in the last couple of days, the Army Corps of Engineers came out and said, well, I don't think we're going to go over this 20-foot flood stage, yada, yada, yada. So he's about 3 weeks early.
Yeah, John was spot
Saved
on.
you some money, didn't he? Really
Yeah, he saved Mom and Dad some money.
Spot on, you know, because he, you know, if you remember when we interviewed him, he did hydrology, you know, the water movement to the rivers, so he's a really good source on that.
Specialty.
And we have a lot of customers that farm bottom ground, and John's a really good guy to talk to, because he's not he's focused in many areas that that affect the agriculture.
He doesn't hype anybody. He gives you the facts, which
Yep.
is really good.
So anyhow, if you haven't signed up for John's weather forecast,
And that'll be that's on our website.
it'll be on this link on Cup of Joe today, and you can go ahead and sign up, and it's free. We're one of the major sponsors of his information. He just lives outside of St. Louis, is where he's at, so he's right in the middle of the Corn Belt and agriculture in general. So it's a great resource, because weather and markets are two things that drive farmers crazy.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Ben, what else do you have?
Well, this week I had the honor of going to Danville Junior Senior High and talking to their FFA program, and I was teaching them a little bit about fertilizers and things like that, and it got me thinking and moving, and we're going to work on a project with them. So basically we have the soil scan, this 360 yield soil scan machine here that we use locally as a pilot program to test the benchmark to figure out where we're at for nitrogen, whether that be hog manure source nitrogen or anhydrous or nitrate or things like that. So I'm going to be working with the Danville FFA kids on a project with that. So,
Awesome.
So basically what you're saying, Ben, is you can take a soil sample, and within just a few minutes you know exactly how much
nitrate is in that soil as a benchmark setting for where you're at. So
whether you need to add more or if you're a little bit short or a little bit long, you know exactly where you're at.
Yep, exactly. And
Where'd we get that, Ben? Where'd that come from?
that came from Yield 360.
The old 360.
Yep. That's a dealer.
Greg Sauter.
Yep, it's an awesome
Great
tool.
company,
It's saved some of our Merschman corn, our Merschman Seeds customers quite a bit of money when we have different platforms suggesting more nitrogen or less nitrogen. I've used that tool to save farmers money.
Some of them are projecting based on weather and temperature. For this one here, you're actually measuring as close as you can get within the tolerances of the machine of what's in the soil.
Right. So it's an awesome machine. I'm excited to use it with the FFA. But we also have, I was talking to Turk this afternoon, as we move north a little bit, they've been missing some rains, and they are actually applying anhydrous ammonia like crazy.
Yep, full bore.
As fast as they can get the anhydrous put on there, they're working on it. So I just wanted to, talk real short and quick about some of the things we need to really pay attention to, because anhydrous isn't the end all of what's going on to make sure your corn crop's going in, and it can actually be extremely detrimental. Last year we were on the exact opposite side of the fence. We were extremely dry going into planting season, and I saw a lot of anhydrous burn on coarser style soils, sandier soils. This year we're on the complete opposite side of that fence. I think there's a lot of guys going to be pushing their limits on too wet of soils, and what happens, one of the suggestions that I make is put that anhydrous as deep in the ground as reasonably possible. You want that to be 7 to 10 inches in the ground, so that your hot spot is 7 to 10 inches in the ground, and it'll slowly leak out because you do not want a hot zone in the top 2 inches where your corn's going to be at, because it'll burn your roots off, and then you'll end up with streaking through the field, and you can see exactly where your anhydrous ammonia was left.
Yep.
When you have your knife marks that are dragging through the ground when it's too wet, the anhydrous will actually leak up through your crack, through your sidewall smears, and that'll end up stopping at a portion where it finds moisture, and you're going to have a hot spot essentially left where your anhydrous is at, where there's too much salt and too much ammonia.
So if you're seeing
smoke.
In smoke, you're putting that anhydrous from the bottom of the knife to the surface of the soil.
Right.
So then if you go back and plant, you have to wait how long?
2 weeks when everything's going the right direction. 7 days to 2 weeks is kind of the average number that you can use. But I mean, if you have smearing, you're going to want to wait even further past that. You're going to want to wait for a rain or some style of event so that ammonia can dissipate and even out through the soil surface, so you don't have these hot spots out in the field.
Would you say is in like a year like this spring, with it being as wet, you'd want to wait a minimum of 2 weeks?
I would say that anhydrous isn't the most important thing in the world. Make sure that the conditions are ideal to be applying it. If you're seeing any kind of smoke at all, I don't know. There's not a magic number that I can give you.
Sure.
I would have to be in that region, and I have to look at the forecast ahead and behind to give them a window of what I think, because a rain does fix a lot of things. A rain will dissipate.
Right.
Talk to your ag chem.
One of the other things,
Exactly.
because hardly any anhydrous was applied last fall, there's a lot more that has to be tried to get done this spring. And so one thing, if you're very, very wet out there, one thing you might do is consider putting on about half what you would normally put on, and then figure out another source later. So in other words, reduce the amount of anhydrous you put on. That'll help this smoke problem, and how much are you putting in a specific area to move up.
Right. It'll lower the concentration.
Yep,
You're absolutely correct.
Well, I don't envy the farmers this year. It's going to be a difficult spring with everything kind of compacted into a very short time, and that leads to a lot of the safety issues that you got to pay attention to. I mean,
Take your time.
Because remember, it's not the date that you plant; it's the weather after you plant that determines yield. And we had a text come in, a video from Ryan Hale at Dexter, Missouri on Wednesday. He was planting corn down there in the Boot Hill, Missouri, and conditions look almost ideal down there from what I could see. So it won't be long. We're going to be planting soon.
I know we actually have some customers that are ready to plant in Nebraska as well, believe it or not, in some of the areas that aren't close to those rivers.
Yep. A lot of things on farmers' minds right now, and that raises that stress level. But come up with your contingency plans, and because it's so critical on corn to have that uniform emergence.
Yep.
If you don't get the uniform emergence, you will not have the opportunity to get the highest yield. So waiting a few days may be the right thing to do.
Yep.
And that's hard to do.
Yep.
And who knows if that's the right thing to do. Well, anything else?
Nothing till next week.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for watching and listening. This is Joe Merschman from Merschman Seeds. Again, thank you for your business, and we'll see you next week.